Gold, we're focused in the Yukon on our RC Gold project. We're also just starting to drill a secondary project down in Nevada. Both Cor and myself are geologists, so that takes care of the forward-looking statement. We're a diverse company. We are focused on the RC Gold project in the Yukon. That's a discovery in the Tombstone Suite reduced intrusion-related gold deposit that we found up there. But we also have a good diverse commodities and jurisdictions. So RC Gold up in the Yukon, a new discovery, just announced a resource in January of this year, 1.34 million ounces. We also have the Alpha Gold project that's in the Cortez Trend, only 40 kilometers south of Cortez Mines. We're just doing a small focused drill program there right now. We also have other permitted projects permitted for drilling. Burrow Creek down in Arizona. It's a large epithermal gold-silver system, and Coppermine River up in Nunavut. It's surprisingly well located. You can get there pretty quickly. It's not way in the middle of nowhere. Exciting gold discovery up there. So that's our pipeline of different projects. We have a strong board of directors and advisory board. Cor, who's joined me, I've known Cor for many years as he worked up in the Yukon. I worked for the Yukon Geological Survey for 20 years, so very familiar with the geology and the projects up there. So it was an easy decision for me to join Cor because I knew the quality of the assets he had in the Yukon. As I mentioned, I worked for the Geological Survey for 20 years, worked in mines and different things before that. Our advisory board, we're looking at these reduced intrusions. I worked with Craig Hart at the Geological Survey when these things first were kind of coming into prominence back in the 90s. So he's on our advisory board. We kind of understand these things and the potential. So company snapshot, a pretty flat chart, except for the last few months, we've seen a bit of appreciation in our price. You can see when we announced the resource back in January of this year, we kind of stumbled along, producing great results, but you know what the markets are like, I don't have to tell you. But recently we had a private placement by an individual at a good premium to our price, 18 cents. So that person really recognized the potential. He's invested in other projects, notably Snowline. So anyways, he's come to us and supported us. As I mentioned, 2 deposits. They're a couple kilometers apart on our project that we announced the resource in January. And this year we've completed 16 holes for 6,500 meters in kind of 2 phases. We drilled in the winter and the summer. It's a road accessible property, so drilling year round is not a problem. You can see our stock information there. So RC Gold up in the Yukon, Cor was able to compile a nice big project, 376 square kilometers, back when the markets were even worse or properties were available. It's road accessible. We can fly into Dawson City. You can land 737s there and drive 2 hours and you're at the property. So it's a very accessible project. It's exciting. The discovery was made in 2021 of the Blackjack and Eiger deposits, and we've been expanding that deposit. That's the focus of our work now. So that inferred resource that we put out in January, 1.34 million ounces at a grade of 0.68. I've done drilling this year, as I mentioned, 16 holes, 6,500 meters. I've been poking around on the rest of the property. It's a large property, and so we've been very busy. We've done initial metallurgical test work on this, got very good recoveries, no mystery. This is exactly like Victoria Gold's Eagle deposit or the Fort Knox mine in Alaska. So these are recoverable through heap leach processes. We're located 100 kilometers east of Dawson, as I mentioned. You can fly directly into Dawson on 737s with good old Air North, a local airline. It's in the heart of that Tombstone Gold Belt, so that stretches across Yukon and Alaska, 98-million-year-old intrusions that host gold all over the place. We're in the area between Dawson and Mayo. That's a very accessible part of this belt. It's seen lots of historical placer exploration, so the access in there is very good. As I mentioned, we access from Dawson, Victoria Gold's Eagle Mine, Banyan, etc. They have to go through Mayo. It's a smaller town, doesn't have the same size airport. So really our location is very favorable. Yukon, everybody I hope knows about it. Very friendly jurisdiction, long history of mining, And as I mentioned, we've got a large land package there in amongst a bunch of other very busy explorers. So here's some of the comparatives, this is in Yukon, doesn't include some of the work going in Alaska in these same rocks. Valley Gold Snowline has captured a lot of attention, showing that these projects can be higher grade than sub-gram. We're showing that as well. Victoria Gold continues to work in the area. Banyan Gold's added a lot of ounces. These are all very similar deposit models hosted in the same age rocks. So a lot of comparisons there and a very active belt of rocks. So this is the district. Dawson is just off the edge of the map, and Mayo's down there in the bottom right. But since 2020, there's been over 10 million ounces of additional gold ounces added into this belt. Bulk of it with Banyan Gold, their discovery at the Ormac project, Victoria Gold, the Raven deposit, that's an additional deposit they've drilled, as well as adding ounces to their Eagle and Olive deposits where they're currently mining. Florin Resources is just a little north of us, and then of course SITKA Gold with our announcement of the 1.34 million ounces. So this belt of rocks has been known since the 90s, saw an early phase of exploration, a second phase now that started recently, and it's really starting to produce some fairly significant additions to the gold resources in this neck of the woods. So here's our RC Gold project. You could see from that previous map, it's a nice sized project, large project. Core went up there in 2020, drilled 4 holes, just kind of reconnaissance holes. All those holes hit good gold mineralization. One touched the Eiger deposit, one touched what was going to be the Blackjack deposit, and a couple were intermediate. You can see the red stars there. They're about 2 kilometers apart, so that shows you the scale of the project. Additionally, on our property, there's 9 Tombstone Age intrusives that all have known gold mineralization with them and are very underexplored. The drilling that we did on Blackjack and Eiger was the first diamond drilling on those intrusions that had been looked at in the 1990s for their potential for gold mineralization. So it's been a long time coming to see this kind of work up there. There's lots of placer gold in the area and very good access, as I mentioned. So here's our resource that we put out in January. The Blackjack is a little higher grade, 900,000 ounces at 0.83 grams per ton. Eiger is 440,000 ounces at a grade of 0.5. They're about 2 kilometers apart. So that's our initial resource calculation for a total of 1.34 million ounces at a grade of 0.68. Here's the 0.25 gram per ton grade shell. You can see the Eiger on your right and the Blackjack on the left, and that's our drilling. We've released 14 of the holes this year. You can see we drilled outside of that resource, so we haven't upgraded our resource, but obviously we've added ounces to the Blackjack deposit, which was where our main focus was. We hoped to get over the Eiger, but Blackjack was going too well. We also drilled, can't use a pointer, but kind of midway there, you can see what we call our saddle zone. It's kind of midway between Eiger and Blackjack, closer to Blackjack. We hit 84 meters at 1.21 grams per ton gold there. So there's a new area of a potential deposit starting to develop there. We're pretty excited about it. So that's a plan view, Blackjack on your right, Eiger on the left, and the saddle in the middle. The background is the gold and soil geochemistry. So you can see why we drilled the saddle area. There's a number of intrusive dikes and sills in there, and also mineralization in the intervening metasediments. But the gold and soil anomaly is the strongest on the property. So we're pretty excited. We've done 2 fences of holes there, 125 meters apart. We've got potentially ore grade intersections in both of those. The ones to the east are 0.6 grams per ton over 80 meters, and I mentioned our hole 54 was 1.2 grams over 84 meters, so starting to see a nice development there. We've drilled around the Blackjack, and it remains open in all directions, so we're just getting started in this district. So we're in the northern part of the Clear Creek intrusive complex. There's 5 intrusions in kind of a 3 by 5 kilometer area. So it's underlain by nice soil geochemistry, known gold mineralization. So that's been the focus of our work. Typical of these reduced intrusion-related gold deposits are deposits, as we mentioned, we put that resource out after a year of drilling, so there's lots more work to do there, and we're just continuing to define them. As well, there's other targets that haven't been drilled. We put 2 holes into the Josephine stock that's on your far right there. Those holes are yet to come. We did find some visible gold down there in surface outcropping, but we've just started to test that. So starting to look at kind of peripheral targets in there. So again, stepping back a little bit, you can see the saddle stock, which hosts the Blackjack deposit, Eiger stock, and Josephine, and the Pukelman down in the bottom there. So a nice cluster of intrusions, lots of golden soil, so a lot of work to do to not only define the deposits that we found already, but look at the potential of the property elsewhere at a very close scale, as well as we sit out and look at the rest of the project. I don't think it takes a geologist to understand that there's probably a common source of magma that's feeding these intrusions. Our geophysics supports that. So as we look at our Blackjack, as we've been drilling that, as I mentioned, it's open in all directions, including down. So these fluids came up. These intrusions are exposed at a very high level, so we're in the upper parts of the system. So we're excited about the potential as we start, exploring these and understanding them more and looking at the depth potential. So again, there's a common source down there somewhere, and it's geophysics is an interesting tool. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think it supports the geology that we know where these fluids are coming from, and tapping into that source adds a lot of potential, especially with the density of intrusions in this area. So here's some of the highlights. This you can see from this drill hole. We do get some very high-grade intersections, plus gram, 3 grams over pretty significant thicknesses. You can see the consistency of mineralization. These are just little veins in the intrusive rocks that carry the gold mineralization. Pretty straightforward from a geological perspective, but pretty nice bulk tonnage. But I think what we're seeing definitely at the Blackjack deposit, and like Snowline is seeing at Valley Gold, these aren't necessarily sub-gram deposits. You can get very high grades within them, and that's what we're proving at Blackjack, and trying to get the market to recognize that. Hole 47 was our highest grade intersection on the project to date in the Blackjack deposit, 219 meters of 1.3 grams. 55 meters of 3.11, so you can see the grades can be pretty nice in these. That's our southernmost hole on the Blackjack deposit outside of the resource. Hole 46 on the northern end of that, 56 meters of 1.2 this year, 38 meters of 4.15, a little deeper down, but showing the kind of robustness in here. Hole 43, another one, 450 meters of 0.74 grams from surface. So this deposit does come to surface. We've drilled it down, shown it extends to depth. So we're pretty excited about the potential here. And as I mentioned, the saddle zone, that's hole 54. It's about 1 kilometer away from the Blackjack deposit, 84 meters of 1.2 grams. So trying to figure out the connection between Blackjack, Saddle, Eiger. There's an east-west corridor there, structural corridor. So we're looking at the geological controls on this gold mineralization. There's hole 47. You can kind of see it. It's at the bottom of the resource on the saddle stock, the Blackjack deposit on the right-hand side of your screen. Again, definitely our best intersection, and really demonstrates the high grades that we can get in here. There it is a little bit more on the bottom. You can see the pink is the intrusive rock. It extends to the south. The deposit's open in that direction, and seeing that nice grade there, we're pretty excited about the potential in that direction. That's just a shot. It's a little deeper down. Those 2 holes that appear to intersect that part of the intrusion at the surface are off the section. They actually have gold mineralization in the metasediments. So we've got a couple holes planned to fill in the upper part of the intrusion there, but the gold mineralization is pretty strong. Hole 46, just want to point out, Up in the northern part, hits some very bonanza grade, high grade intersections. So we do get later veins that carry some really good gold mineralization, 4.3 meters of 33 grams, 1.2 of 108 grams. So these are pretty interesting systems. Overall bulk tonnage, but we can get those higher grades. Saddle zone, as I mentioned, kind of in the middle there. Again, really highlighting we're in the early stages here of exploration, and the potential's really great. We're pretty happy about that intersection. So our priorities, we're going to follow up on that Blackjack. It's our highest grade deposit, so we're going to focus on that, continue to focus. We can drill winter and summer. Not sure if we're going to drill this winter or not, but we have drill holes planned. We know where we're going. We also have 5 other intrusions with drill-ready targets on them. We'll decide when we're going to step out to those. Test drilling of those targets will come at some point. And again, it's a large property. We have a lot of kind of other targets that need to be brought up to the drill-ready stage. So a lot of potential left here. Going to move into the Alpha Gold project. That's in the Cortez Trend. So Elephant Country, obviously Pipeline, Cortez Hills, Gold Rush, 15 to 20 million ounce deposits. Alpha Gold's in an area that wasn't thought to have the right stratigraphy and structure. Scott Price, our VP Exploration in the US, is a Nevada geologist. He proved that wrong. He had a theory. We drilled it, and it's proven that the right stratigraphy and structure is down there, and at a shallow level. So we've drilled 4 programs there, very precise, directed drill programs to develop the model. These are tough targets, but every drill hole has hit gold mineralization. Last year, our best hole, 21 meters of 1.2 grams. That included 1.5 meters of 4.62. We all know the prize in that area, and we're pretty excited about the potential. But as I said, we're being very methodical and precise in our drilling down there. So we've just started a drill program, 1,500 meters, 4 or 5 holes planned. We're excited about the potential as we demonstrate the potential of this property in an area that was kind of thought to not be a good area, but we've proven that wrong. Don't need to tell you too much about Carlin deposits. Alpha Gold, again, favorable stratigraphy. We've proven that. The structures, we're just refining the target and moving in on them. Large property, north to south. We've done a bunch of drilling to define that stratigraphy and structure. And as I mentioned, we're starting to drill right now. You're looking at the crest of an anticline. We've kind of defined that. We're stepping off to the west and drilling that crest of the anticline. So that's our first target. So as you come down through those more shaly cap rocks, hit the carbonate rocks with the right structure, you hopefully get a nice pipeline deposit there. Difficult targets, but prize is pretty huge. We've also got a great pipeline of projects, Burro Creek in Arizona. It's an epithermal gold system. Very good country. Outcrops, there's a big vein there, sticks out of the ground, historical resource. This was permitted for production back in the day. It's permitted for drilling now. So at some time we'll be visiting Burro Creek. We also have the Coppermine River property up in Nunavut, 50,000 hectare property. Copper discovery made by our folks at SITKA Gold and our subsidiary, Arctic Copper. It's as well permitted for drilling. So again, very prospective pipeline of projects. So it was an initial discovery made by our geologists. Surface samples, pretty spectacular. And the target up there is a pretty big one. Coppermine River, obviously the name suggests there's copper there. It was the largest staking rush in Canada back in the day in the 60s. So we're excited to someday get into that. As I mentioned, we're undervalued, low market cap, just like everybody. We have seen a bit of an appreciation in our share price with some strategic investment. We have about $4.5 million in the bank, so we're well financed. We're focused on RC Gold. We're doing a little bit of work on Alpha, and we've got a great pipeline of projects. So, yeah, that's about SITKA Gold in a nutshell. Thank you.